So tonight we're bringing together industry professionals from various different practices within the first home buyers industry. We understand that there can often be quite sort of mixed perceptions on how things should be done and how you should go about getting into your first home, the different processes involved, what you have to do to get your ducks in a row in that. So yeah, there can be confusion around that, and obviously you ask mum and dad and they have a different idea from 30, 40 years ago when they bought their first home. So yeah, we basically want to offer first home buyers this platform of information and make the process as easy as possible for them to get in their first home.
Well, tonight's all about talking to first home buyers and helping them however we can get on the property ladder. So for us at My Para Real Estate, we'll basically be talking them through how to make an offer, how to find the right home. I'll particularly be talking about the auction process tonight, because I know that's a process that sometimes buyers are a little bit nervous about. So I'll shine a bit of light on that, and also just give a bit of an overview of the Christchurch market, how it sits at the moment in terms of prices and days on the market, things like that buyers need to know.
We basically facilitate some of the home ownership products on behalf of the government. The main one being the KiwiSaver Home Start grant that started in April this year. I think given the changes to the criteria from April, there'll be people asking about new build properties, about buying land and building, what size of grant they can get from the government to buy a first home, and just general questions about KiwiSaver and how they can withdraw funds from there too.
We're property valuers and advisors, so we provide property solutions to anyone who wants anything to do with property, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, across the board.
What sort of things do you think people are going to ask you about tonight?
Probably why they need a valuation and what is a valuation. Particularly with first home buyers, they often don't realise it's often a requirement of the bank to have a valuation before they approve a loan. And often they don't know what a valuation is, so we'll just talk them through what we do, what the process is and what the bank requires.
Yeah, tonight's all about, we're really invested in Christchurch, so it's about making it easy for customers. So the one thing with AMI is our point of difference is we've got stores, we've got 7 stores in Christchurch, and people helping people. So look, there's been a lot happening, obviously the journey of Christchurch, but we're at the right end now, and we can make it easy for customers. So the best thing they can do is come and talk to us.
I'm hoping to inform the people here of what a house and land package is, how to go about buying a brand new home, and what to look out for. I think the perception in the new house market is that it is out of the reach of people, but Greer Homes is actually committed to putting people into homes, especially the under 450 bracket, so people can obtain the New Zealand home loan grants, and they can also use their KiwiSaver. So it's a great first step for the young people wanting to get on the property ladder. And as they say, the best time to buy a property is probably yesterday.
I think it's just about being there for anyone that's interested in buying, being able to speak to them about the process of working through, just being able to show them what properties we've got available if they're interested, and just really to engage with some people, getting them onto the property ladder.
Solutions, and it's a big hot topic. House prices going up. Fortunately, interest rates are still pretty low, but just getting that deposit together, wanting to know how much you can afford to actually repay on your loan. So we'll give them some advice and some options on how to get in there.
Kia ora, good evening. Can you hear me? I'm wired for sound on both sides, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me at the back? Great. It's fantastic to be here and fantastic to see so many of you coming to think about and to look at how you can buy your own home. I'd like to congratulate Brooke and her team, and also thank everybody here who's come to talk about this issue, because it's a really important one. As Brooke said, I'm Nicky Wagner. I am the MP for Christchurch Central. I actually live in the centre city, and I really recommend living downtown. It's a fantastic place to live, close to everything that's happening, and of course there's going to be really good new opportunities for everybody in the near future. So I'll talk about that in a little bit of time. I'm also the Associate Minister of Earthquake Recovery, and so I'm very excited about the future of the city, and I'm really pleased that all of you are interested in buying a home and that you're committed to spending some time in the city, because I think Christchurch is going to be an amazing city as it redevelops. There's a little flyer that I gave out here. I'm just going to talk my way through those pictures for you, just to give you a bit of idea of what's going on. So I've started off by talking about home ownership and why we think it's important. New Zealanders think that owning your own home is really important, that it's all part of the Kiwi dream. Most of you probably come from where your mum and dad had a home, your grandparents had a house. It's something that Kiwis want to do and want to be involved with. And our government is really keen to support people to get into their own home. And there's really good reasons for that. We do want to support you as your family, but we also think it's good for our community. We think people owning their own home gives them a financial asset. It gives them a financial asset that they can develop over their lifetime, and it's pretty handy when you come to retire at the other end and you need a nest egg for your old age. It gives greater security for people. If you live in a home and you stay in that place and you don't move around, it's good for your family, it's good for children, it's good for knowing your neighbours, knowing your friends, supporting your community. It also gives people a really strong reason to look after their homes, to look after their gardens, to make a place, to nest, so to speak. And that adds to the quality of the homes that we have in our city. And finally, it really does encourage people to be part of a community, part of their suburb, and to make their contributions back to that community. And we do know that people feel better about themselves, have a better life if they're part of a bigger group, part of a community, part of something that they can enjoy. So if you go on to the next picture there, you'll see a graph here, and it talks about New Zealand home ownership, and it's actually been declining for the last 30 years. We used to have one of the highest ownerships in the OECD. We're now about the middle, about an average level, and it's declined from about 73% to 63% over the last 10 years or so, last 30 years or so. It's still a relatively high percentage of home ownership, and interestingly enough, when you look at the graph for the OECD countries, the country that has the lowest home ownership is Switzerland. And that is talking about a lifestyle choice Europeans often make. They want to have more disposable income, they want to travel, they want to have beautiful things, and so they don't own their own homes. But I think in New Zealand, I think it's a really smart move to own your own house, and obviously all of you do too. If you look at the next picture that I've got there, it's got a picture about home affordability, because there's been a lot of debate and a lot of talk about owning your own home and how you can afford to do that. And obviously in Auckland in particular right now, it's very expensive to buy a house. Their affordability has been growing, their lack of affordability has been developing over particularly the last 3 or 4 years. But it's always, house prices always seem to rise and fall and rise and fall. And if you have a look there, you'll be able to see all the way from 2000 up to 2015, what affordability has done for house prices. You'll see at the top there's Auckland in the blue, the green is the prices nationally, and we're the orange. Christchurch is the orange, and you can see pre-earthquake, we were the cheapest of the major cities in New Zealand. And then we've got bubbled up at the end after the earthquake, prices have gone up. But I actually think that there is going to be a righting of that price in Christchurch. I think right now there is a lot of construction, there's a lot of land available. Post-earthquake, a lot of subdivisions were opened up, there's more land available, there's a lot of building happening at the moment. We've got our Housing Accord projects that are being built. Housing New Zealand has got a big program of builds, and you've probably heard about the East Frame and the houses that are going to be built in the centre city. If you have a look at the graph next door to that, you'll see the construction activity. Now this is for right across the country, but actually Auckland and Christchurch are the areas where most construction is taking part. These are to do with consenting. There's $9.6 billion in progress at the moment being built across the country, and that's 25,000 homes. So there's quite a large number of homes being built. There's also new initiatives in how we build our houses and the type of fabrication of houses. And I see that we have Mike Greer here. They've got a new house factory that they have set up, and they're building houses more prefabricated that can be put together faster, better, and more cost effectively. So there's going to be a change in the technology about how we build homes as well, and that's going to help keep the costs down. You'll see at the bottom of that page is a picture of the East Frame. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the East Frame, but that's the area in Christchurch between Manchester and Madras Street. Manchester and Madras. It starts at the river, at the Avon River, and goes down, basically down to CPIT. And that area is going to be redeveloped over the next 5 or 6 years, and we're going to be building 900 new houses in that area. 900 houses that should house about 2,000 people. Now, there will be townhouses, there will be apartments, there'll be studios, there'll probably be some terraced housing, and it's going to be in 4 or 5 different developments, all with a slightly different theme. So you'll have down near the Innovation Precinct, you'll have more smaller, funkier, more youth-orientated houses, and perhaps up near the Margaret Mahi Playground, which is at the other end, you might have more townhouses for families with children. So there's going to be 900 houses built in that area over the next 5 or 6 years. So that's going to bring more people into the centre city. And I did note before I started that I live in the centre city, and I've lived in the centre city for the last 20 years, and I have to thoroughly recommend it. You'd be surprised how easy life becomes when you can walk to work, you can go to the shops, you can go and do bars and restaurants and perhaps your recreational activities in a very close proximity to where you live. It's convenient, it cuts down the cost of owning a car, and actually it makes for a great quality of life. So there's going to be quite a few options, new options in the centre city after that East Frame is redeveloped. Now, if you go over the page, I've given you some information about what the government's doing to try and support first home owners into buying their own houses. And this is a mixture of 3 projects. We've basically put it under the KiwiSaver Home Start package, and we announced that at election time, and it came in on the 1st of April. And since then, over 260 people have bought houses with these Home Start packages in the first quarter of this year. Now, this is to help people get together a deposit to encourage new housing, because you can get double the amount of deposit if you buy a new house. So we're encouraging the building of new housing. It's to promote KiwiSaver, because it's in line with what you've got in KiwiSaver over the length of time you've been involved. And it's also to incentivise developers to build more houses in that affordable level. And really, it's there to help people like you get your foot on the ladder and get into a home of your own. There's 3 products, and you can see the next slide there. There's 3 products. The first is the KiwiSaver Home Start Grant. Now, that's towards getting a deposit for your home, and it can be an existing home or it can be a brand new home. And then we've organised the KiwiSaver First Home Savings Withdrawal. In the past, you weren't allowed to get your money out of KiwiSaver. It was designed to be a retirement saving option. But we believe that owning your own home gives you the stability and the option to liquidate that when you want to retire and to get that asset out then. So we're saying, yep, you can withdraw everything out of your KiwiSaver except for the first $1,000 to keep it open. So if you've, over the last few years, managed to put money into KiwiSaver, that money is able for you to take to put towards buying a home, and only to put towards buying a home. And then we've created what we call the Welcome Home Loan. Now, the idea of the Welcome Home Loan is that you can get a loan from a bank with only a 10% deposit. And right now, you're supposed to have a 20% deposit before you can get a loan from a bank, but the government will guarantee the other 10%. So as long as you've got the cash flow to pay for your mortgage, you'll be able to get a Welcome Home Loan. So if you think about that package, it's 3 things. It's the grant that you can get, and that depends on how long you've been in KiwiSaver and what kind of house that you buy. It's the KiwiSaver to take your money out of there if you've been saving there, and then it's the opportunity of a Welcome Home Loan. And if you have a look at the next slide, you will see that we've actually put quite a lot of money into this. We've put $435 million for over the next 5 years, and we expect that that will mean that 90,000 New Zealanders will be able to take up these grants to get their first home. We have put a house cap on it. It's not designed so that you can go and buy a super apartment, a penthouse for millions of dollars. The cap price on this in Christchurch, Waimakariri and Selwyn is $450,000. So any kind of house up to $450,000. You can get up to a $20,000 grant for a new build and a $10,000 grant for an existing home. So the idea is we're encouraging people to build new, affordable homes. And then we've talked about the withdrawal of your savings. So if you go over to the next page, we talk about who is eligible for this. Not everybody's eligible for this. You have to be a first home buyer. In other words, this is to get your foot on the ladder, to give you a chance to get into the action. A first home buyer, or there is an opportunity, and I've got a couple of case studies that might give you an idea. There is an opportunity that if through some circumstances you're back in the situation of being a first home buyer even though you've had a home before, and the sort of example is that you might have had a home with somebody and had a marriage breakup and you had kids and you're back in that position that you can't afford a first home. So in that case, it is a possibility that you might be assessed as a first home buyer. You have to be a KiwiSaver member. So you must have been a member and you must have saved for a minimum of 3 years. So you've got 3 years under your belt. You must have an income of $80,000 or under for an individual. So you've got to earn less than $80,000 for an individual, or $120,000 for a couple or two or more people. So $80,000 for an individual or $124,000 for a couple. And the idea about that is that we're trying to give people a hand up. If they're earning a lot of money, we think that they can possibly do that themselves. This is a hand up for people who are really trying hard to get their deposit together to get their first home. And again, we've got the house price cap, which in Christchurch, Waimakariri and Selwyn is $450,000. It's actually $550,000 in Auckland, but $450,000 here. Okay, so if you go to the next page, how much will my Home Start grant be? And this just talks about how long you've been in KiwiSaver and whether you're an individual or two or more people. So if you've been in KiwiSaver for 3 years, you can get a $3,000 grant for an individual, 4 years, $4,000, 5 years, $5,000. So pretty easy to figure out. That's for an existing home. If you buy a new home, you can get double that, so 6, 8 and 10. And if it's 2 or more people, you can do exactly the same thing, so you're ending up with $12,000, $16,000 or $20,000. So that's the difference between $20,000 and $5,000, depending on whether you're together with somebody else or by yourself, and whether you're buying a new or existing home. And on the last page I've got here of how do I apply, and this gives you some information about where you can go online to get the forms to apply. You can phone and have a chat to people, and you can talk to the lenders for the Welcome Home loan, and anything else you want to do about your KiwiSaver provider. And I'm very happy to talk about these things later, but Brooke's got someone to talk after me. So thanks very much for listening.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me at the back okay? Lovely. Yeah, my name's Conor, Patton, folks. I'm here on behalf of the big boss man, Mike. He's very sorry he can't be here this evening, but he's doing it tough at an industry conference in Bali. So he sent me along to speak with you all this evening to talk a little bit about the Christchurch market, how we're doing it, the coalface, so to speak, and then also, yeah, talk about the auction process, because I know as a first home buyer it can be the most daunting. But I'm here to show you why you should actually be excited and not nervous, and talk you through the process, basically. And so, first and foremost, I should actually point you to the 4 agents at the back. They're the ones who are really at the coalface and can give you the best information about the market. I don't want to talk above my pay grade, so there we are, lovely, thank you, waving. But I'll quote instead. So if you picked up a copy of the Property Press this week, you would have seen Tony Alexander, the BNZ chief economist, saying that he thinks that Christchurch has more or less done its dash in terms of this property cycle, in terms of a few years ago we talked about Christchurch and Auckland almost being on par, but that is definitely no longer the case, and that's reflected in the statistics. If you look in the last 12 months, Christchurch has experienced about a 3% growth in the average sale price. That compares with the likes of Palmerston North, Dunedin, what's the other one? New Plymouth, puts us behind the likes of Nelson, or Hastings and Whangarei, Hamilton, Tauranga, certainly above. So any kind of fears about being a scary time to buy in Christchurch, I think those fears are being alleviated, and Nicky touched on it as well, the first home affordability. I looked at another study done by a website, interest.co.nz, which is a really good site if you're looking for property information. They do their own study on first home affordability, and they put us at 29.5% basically of a couple's income. There's a whole lot of caveats, but we talk about 29.5%. That's on par again with the likes of Nelson, Tauranga, well below obviously Auckland, but also the likes of Queenstown as well. So yeah, it's a good time to be buying Christchurch, I think, and couple that with the fact that we're going into spring, a time where seasonally, if history is anything to go by, we do see an increase in listings going through to that Christmas period. So the stage is set for you guys to take hold of it. And if you're going to be buying, which sounds like quite a few you might be, you may indeed come across an auction. So that's what I'd like to talk to you a bit about just now. But before I do, I need a volunteer. It's a little bit scary, but not really. Yeah, it might seem intimidating, but actually it'll be fine. Can I have a volunteer? Right, your support's overwhelming. Someone put their hand up. Come on, can I have a volunteer? We could be here all night. That's right, I'll auction off. Now, what do we got? Yes, good on you. Right, I don't actually need anything from you. I just wanted to see who'd put their hand up. You've won a Mike Pero branded bar fridge. So you can take that home with you. It's in the box over there. You take that home with you, okay? Nicely done. There was a wee test, folks, and that's a bit like going to an auction, okay? It's not actually that scary, and when you do put your hand up, good things can happen, all right? So that's the first thing about an auction, right? And it's important that you get comfortable with the auction process, I think, because in Christchurch, about 30% of property goes to auction, and that's across all locations and all price brackets. So if you're telling yourself, I'm too scared to go to auction, you're cutting 30% of your dream homes out, okay? So I think you need to get comfortable and confident, and more so get excited about going. And one of the reasons I think you should be excited is because you're busy, I'm sure, and you want to spend your time efficiently, and traipsing through open home after open home can get tedious, I know, and you want to spend that time efficiently, and auction vendors are usually the most motivated of vendors in the marketplace. You don't want to be wasting your time going to homes to find out that the owner is only sort of testing and wants some unrealistic price that they're just going to end up pulling from the market. And if you go to auction homes, you'll see that most of them sell on auction day, and that's because the owners have got a genuine reason for sale. They're moving, they're upsizing, they're downsizing, whatever, and they're good people to work with for you as buyers. Also, there's sort of a myth that you're going to face all this competition in the auction room and it's going to sell for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands above what you can afford to pay, but it's not the case. I called 3 auctions today, and without a word of a lie, we had one sell below reserve, one sell at reserve, and one sell above reserve. So this sort of myth that every property is going to be going sky high is just not true. And you might actually face less competition in an auction rather than more. And that's because to bid and buy at auction, you might know this already, but you have to be in what we call a cash and unconditional state. In other words, you do all your due diligence beforehand. And as first-time buyers, you're in a perfect position. Sometimes people who have already got a home can't do so because they want to sell their own home first. Well, you're lucky in that you don't have that. Well, first-time buyers, I'm guessing you don't. So if you can be ready in a position to bid, you're often there at a time when there might be other parties, and I say this in the auction room normally, I say, look, there's conditional buyers outside, they're easy to spot, they're standing outside like this, praying they get to make an offer if it doesn't sell at auction. Had one today where the person wanted to come to auction, got cold feet, we had no bidders at this one auction today. He's now put an offer in, it's looking like it'll be a multi-offer tomorrow, as in he'll be fighting against other parties to secure it tomorrow, even though they could have been unconditional and been the only person today and had an opportunity at purchasing, so now they have to fight it out with others. So, yeah, you should get excited about going to auction because, as I say, there's a real likelihood that you can be there at a time when the owners are keen to sell and other people can't be in the same position as you. And if you are competing against others, which we often are in the Christchurch market, at least it's transparent. I was in your situation a year ago. My friend and I bought a home together last December. And I know I'm sort of in the auction process, so I'm biased. But I only wanted to buy at auction because I didn't want to go into a multi-offer situation where I don't know where the goalposts were. You're sitting there with the agent and they tell you there's 3 other offers and you go, well, how much do I need to pay? And they go, how much do you want to pay? Well, I don't know. How much do I need to pay? Well, how much have you got? Well, you know, and you go back and forth. So at least in an auction room, you can see, right, this person's bidding 100. Okay, I'll bid 110. He's bidding 120. He thinks it's worth 120. I'll bid 130. And so at least you can see where you're going. And so I think that's another big strength of auction, the transparency of it for you guys, for all of us. And finally, when you bid at auction, you get a chance to have a psychological edge. If the way you bid and buy, you can actually make these small differences that can be the difference whether you get the house or not. And you can do that if you're putting an offer on paper against others and it's you're doing it at 6 o'clock at night, it's getting presented in a couple of days, whereas right there live in the room, the way you choose to bid and the way you apply your strategy, it can actually make the difference whether you get the home or not, and that's the only method where you can do it. So I'll talk you through briefly what you need to do to get yourself in a position to bid on auction day once you've found the right property, and then just some quick tips about how to go about it on the day itself, okay? So if you find a property that's going to auction that you really like, the first thing is that you leave your contact information with the agent, and be honest, with the amount of James Bonds and Miley Cyruses we get and all this sort of stuff, leaving fake names and numbers, if anything changes, they can't let you know, and so be upfront, give your contact details. The agents aren't, well, certainly our ones won't pester you, okay? So give your contact information. They can give you all the documentation, which has got LIM, title, EQC information, the contract, and you can get the LIM and title checked by solicitor, or if you've got a friend of yours at Canterbury University, however you choose to do it, get some due diligence done on the property, okay? Part of organising to be unconditional is sorting insurance, which is not as stressful a process, particularly if you speak to the folks at AMI over there, my free plug. Get your insurance organised before on the property. Obviously have your finances arranged. Hello, Westpac. There's also Westpac mortgages. I mean, not Westpac, Mike Pero mortgages, sorry. That's what I meant to say. But no, sorry folks, good plug. So get that sorted. And doing these steps is really good because even if you end up going up to an auction, the more unconditional you can be, the better your offer is in any situation. Owners want to see a clean contract as much as possible. And so if you've got finance pre-approved, other bits and pieces organised, and you can put in the best offer possible, it doesn't always come down to price. I've been in situations with owners where there's conditional offers sitting in the wings for a property, but we've got bidding on the day from someone who's unconditional, and owners are willing to take $10,000, $15,000 less because it's certain and they know it's sold and not subject to X, Y, and Z. So the more unconditional you can be, the more attractive your offer is going to be, okay? So once you've got all these bits and pieces organised, you then make sure you tell your financial and your insurance advisor the dates you're working towards so that they know what your deadline is. And you want to get done as soon as possible, because if there was an offer made prior to auction that was acceptable and the auction gets brought forward, you still want to be in a position where you can participate. So if you've done that due diligence, then if there's a pre-auction before the date, then you can participate, okay? Now on auction day itself, first of all, leading up to auction day, I'd suggest if you haven't been to auction that you go and check them out. There are different companies. We do ours on a Wednesday. Harcourts do Wednesday, Thursday. Bailey's, I think, are a Thursday. I do on-sites on a Saturday. Go and look at other auctions and get a feel for how they work and what the auctioneer is saying and the terms he's running through so you feel familiar with it. The more familiar and comfortable you feel, the more confident you'll appear as a bidder and the better your chances. So go and see auctions before your scheduled one. And get to your own one in plenty of time. Jings, the amount of times I have people showing up as we're calling for an opening bid and they're all flustered, just get there in a bit early, okay? And if you're still feeling nervous, speak to the auctioneer or the agent. They can give you some last-minute tips. We're not as scary. I don't think I'm scary. Come and approach and have a chat, and we can give you some last-minute tips for bidding. When the auction starts, opening the bidding can be quite a good strategy. If you don't open the bidding, I'm quite happy to. And what I'll do is I'll open it nice and low to try and get some momentum. So if you go in with a reasonable bid, you can sometimes knock out some of your competition right from the start. So have a realistic figure in mind. And when you think about your limit for an auction, try and think of in terms of a range rather than being, we've all got to have a limit. It's not like we can just keep going forever, unfortunately. But so think in terms of a limit rather than getting fixated on one price, because then you know basically where you establish three levels basically, where you think you'd be getting at a good price, a bit of a bargain. If there's not much competition, what you think the sort of rough fair market value is, and a position that you'd be able to stretch to gather a few thousand from the parents or to get whatever you're going to borrow it from, but know basically your absolute max figure that you'd be prepared to pay if you're down to really small increments and you're really close to securing the home. And the other thing I'd say is try not to have a budget that ends on a round number. If you're going to spend 403, because the amount of people that just stop on that round number, that 1,000 could be what it does. Could be what does it, sorry. So try and not fix on that round number. And the way you can start establishing these prices is talk to the agents before the auction, have a meeting with them and talk about strategy. The agents are available to talk with you before the auction, and they can get you comfortable in talking different figures and basically getting you help set up, okay? And yeah, bid with authority, bid confidently, not to the point of rudeness. I did an auction a while ago and these two chaps are going hammer and tongs. This guy's being quite abrasive and things. And he didn't actually win, the other guy won, and I went up to him when we were signing the contract, and I said, oh, congratulations, love the home, obviously. He's like, it's all right, I just wanted to beat that other prick. He was so annoying. So this guy just bought a house, spent I don't know how many 100,000 to sort of prove a point. So you're probably not going to meet many people like that, but still, it's better not to risk it. So it's not about being rude, but as soon as someone comes in with the bid, you want to be straight back in there, 400, 410. And whatever your limit is, you go as if your budget is infinity, all right? So if your last number is 403 and someone's going 400, 403. And if someone goes 404, fine, let it go. But bid right up until your limit strongly and give the impression that you're prepared to go forever. Because as I say, those psychological edges against your competitors, that's who you're competing against. I hope it doesn't sound scary. It's not really scary at all. It's quite fun. I think it's really fun anyway. But those are some basic tips for you. I've got that all lined up in a wee sort of pamphlet if people want to take that away. I've also got a video on our Might Pero YouTube channel going through that stuff for you to prepare. As I say, talk to our agents to get more of a handle on the current market, but as I say, it's looking good, and I hope you get excited about auction. I think, as I say, last year it's the only way I wanted to buy a property, and I'm home and hose now pretty happy. So I can't suggest it strongly enough to you. Any questions at the end, feel free to ask. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Anyway, good evening. My name's John Callaghan, as Brooke has said, and thank you very much for inviting me tonight. And I would like to say well done to Brooke and to Jared and your team for putting on this fantastic event. You have done well. You were very nervous that no one was going to turn up when I first arrived here today, but you've certainly captivated a crowd tonight. Nicky, Wagner, hi, how are you? Good to see you here, and thank you for coming as well. Now, Greer Homes is New Zealand's largest group home builder, and our reputation is important to us, as it should be to you when choosing a new home building company. We've been building award-winning homes in Canterbury region for over 25 years, and we pride ourselves on our innovative design and quality workmanship. The company started out in a garage of Mike's first spec home, where he sat behind a desk on a beer crate. So we've come from the smallest company you could imagine to become New Zealand's largest supplier of home and land packages. Greer Homes is trusted as an independent home builder who has assumed a market leader position in terms of affordability, efficiency, sound construction and design flair. And with the revolutionary Concision Factory now part of our repertoire, we can deliver more affordable, efficient and confidence to our clients, and it's exactly what you need when buying a new home. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the Concision model, as it is new technology, which is based upon the European model of how to build homes. So the factory is fully German, automated, computer-driven machinery. We input a plan, and you don't touch it from that point there. The only person that needs to do things is feed in wood or timber into the machines. Everything's computer generated, from the cutting to the nailing to putting in our insulation. We have conduits already, we have exterior cladding, interior cladding. It's stocked, it's wrapped and shrink wrapped, and it's ready to be put out on site. We have run out probably 15 homes to date so far out of the factory. These walls can go up to 12 metres long. The first 9 metre length that we put out was out by 1 millimetre from start to finish. So this new efficient building technology allows us to actually complete a home in 12 to 14 weeks, from a standard 24-week build down to 12 to 14 weeks. Out on site, we have a slab all ready to go, where our builders have obviously been on site. We come out in the factory, high ebb, we place down our frames, we place it all out 3 to 5 hours later, depending on the size of the house. You are ready to put the roof, trusses and corrugated iron on. That means that within 6 to 7 days, we are fully enclosed in a house. We are not held up by weather. We are not disrupted by wet weather especially. We can always carry on and the build keeps on going. It's a very efficient product, and we are really excited to be able to put this out to the general market. As I said previously, Greer Homes is the largest provider of home and land packages. Now, everyone wants to know, what is a home and land package? Home and land package is that exactly. You get the home and the land. It's a turnkey package. So when you pay us that final bill, you can walk straight into your home and it is completed for you. Designer kitchens, appliances, floor coverings, excuse me. There is no hidden costs on these. So the fixed price, when you sign the contract with us, is the fixed price that you will pay. Provided you don't make any changes or add a few taps and add a few extra vanities, that price that you signed up with us on that day is the price that you will pay the day that you go into settlement. A contract is probably another scary part for everyone to enter as a first home owner. The sale and purchase contract is generated by the Auckland Law Society, so it's all there for your lawyers to check over. Included in our sale and purchase agreements, we have the floor plans, we have your exterior colours, you get to choose your interior colours, we have a list of all your appliances, a list of all your plumbing gear, it's all there for you. Along in the further terms of sale, you have a couple of clauses that help you as a first home buyer, which I think are very important. You have a finance clause and you have a lawyer clause. First one is for your lawyer to look it over and make sure that form and content is right, to make sure that you are signing a contract that is legally binding and also there are no hidden costs involved in it. 10 days you have for that before you go unconditional. The same with finance. You have 10 days to go out, chat with your Westpac bank manager and find if you can actually afford this home. 10 days, that gives you time to sit back at home, wonder if you've made the right decision. You might wake up in a cold sweat at night. You might think, what have I done? Those 10 days give you the ability to say, no, not for me today. No problems, you can come back and we can sell you another home at a different time. But it is very important that these 10 days, it's almost like a cooling off period for you. It lets you have confidence that you can sign a contract, fix that price, get that house, get that land, then 10 days later, you will go unconditional. Once you've gone unconditional, you'll then meet with, hopefully, a project manager. We're ready to start the build, if the build's in that state now, and the project manager will run through with you the pre-construction meeting, and you'll be involved in the build from that process. You'll be given regular updates, told how the build's going. You'll meet with our interior designers. You'll put your touch, your feel, choose your carpets, choose your tiles, choose your wall colours, bench top, so you actually have input into this house. So when you move in, it does feel like your house. Now, obviously talking about new homes versus existing homes, to me, why would you buy a new home? And it's really simple in my mind anyway. First of all, you get an extra $10,000 for the government for buying a brand new home. New homes are fully insulated. Double glazed windows, efficient heating systems, and there'll be no requirement for maintenance for 10 years, provided you don't have too many parties around at your house and you keep it nice and tidy, which all new homeowners generally do, as Nicky pointed out. But to me, it is a very important thing in the Christchurch market at the moment of buying the brand new homes, which are new, haven't been through these earthquakes, and they're up to the new building code that has been brought in by the government to protect the Canterbury environment and also to protect the building industry. It is a huge investment in buying this brand new home, so you have to have confidence in your builder, the company you're building with, and I have two lovely salespeople behind me, Megan and Hamish, who do a fantastic job for my company, or Mike Greer's company actually, I wish it was, and they will be able to talk to you afterwards. Any questions, they'll give you the card, and it's about advice. It's about being fully informed that you are making the right decision. There's no hard sale. It's a $450,000 investment you're making. There's no pressure. We want you to be confident that you are making the right decision. And that's one thing when you are taking that new home step, whether you're going to an auction, whether you are buying a new home or existing home, you have to have confidence in that product. So you've got to feel good. It's that first step, it's that first investment for you to get on that property ladder. We have a turnkey package, which is a 5% deposit pay on completion. Now the 5% deposit is what Mike Greer Homes require from the purchaser to secure your home. The other 95%, the way you get it, is entirely up to you. Whether you have to go see the bank to get another 90% funding, you may actually have 10% sitting there ready to go into our trust account, but we'll just let you keep that 5, keep it in your bank, gain interest for yourself. It's important. We only need 5%. You may see some offers we have 0% deposit. Those opportunities you really have to grasp. You can keep your deposit in your bank. You can gain your interest, but once you sign that contract with us, it's a fixed price. There's no more charges for you. The house might be built in 3 months, it might be built in 6 months, depending when the land's released, depending when and how it is in council. So it is really, really important that you make that right decision about your finances. Now, the banks are fantastic nowadays, and what we're actually seeing is people going out and getting pre-approvals. So the new way for homeowners is to go to the bank, get a pre-approval of a limit of $450,000, which is what we all really want to hit, because that gets you the extra $20,000. So you can come to us, say you've got a limit for $450,000, and at present we have 60 house and land packages all available within that $450,000 range. These homes are new, they are warm, they will save you on your heating bills. They are a great investment for you at the start. Now, one thing that I would like to kind of point out, when you have the KiwiSaver home loan, you and a mate can join together and you can buy the home together. So you might have a flatmate, both of you are paying rent at the moment. You can join your KiwiSaver funds together, split it down the middle, 2 of you can purchase. You do not have to be a couple to be able to get these home loans. So, in summing up, make sure that you have confidence in your new home builder. Make sure you do your homework. It is a very, very big decision you guys are about to take. So go and visit the show homes. See the quality, see the finish, see what you can expect. Talk to other people. Talk to other people, find out experiences, what they've had. And the other thing is, come see Mike Greer Homes. We'll be more than happy to see you all. And thank you very much tonight.